Alright, and here we are with another decision for our opening hand. So, two lands were on the play, unknown opponent, good 3 drop, great 4 drops, and two Harness Lightnings. And then the mana we need, basically, good mana, but both come into play tapped if these are only two lands. So on the draw, I think I would just always keep this very happily, very quickly. On the play, I think it comes down to the fact that Harness Lightning is so good in pretty much every matchup. Harness Lightning is just the best removal in the format and can buy us a lot of time to find our third land in Cast Tracker. So I think this is a keep, and my past self agrees. And here we should lead on Cinderglade in case, even though this Evolving Wilds finds a basic, which could make the Cinderglade come into play untapped. Playing Cinderglade first, it allows us to first of all, see what colors of mana we draw, and second of all, allows us to cast Harness Lightning on turn 2 if we draw an untapped land, whereas Evolving Wilds wouldn't allow us to do that unless it was a red mana, because this is right now getting a blue mana. Although it's unlikely we ever use Harness Lightning on a 1-drop. Basically just the 1/2 that becomes a 2/3 with artifacts. And most of the time it's not going to matter anyways. I guess that's another 1-drop we would have used Harness Lightning on. Although we did not get that option. And here, even though we didn't draw another land, we at least drew two 2-drops. I mean, this is not good that we didn't draw another land, but it's not, the game's not over by any means. Alright, so our opponent astutely realizes we are in trouble mana-wise and punishes us by getting rid of Servant. And we still haven't drawn a land, so now things aren't looking great. But I mean, that is a danger of keeping this hand. But again, the Harness Lightnings are being MVP, keeping us in the game anyways. Unfortunately, our opponent's just getting tireless tracker value like crazy. Here we finally draw a land, so we're kind of still in the game, although we're massively behind just in terms of mana. And this is the best we can hope for, is that our opponent just activates Lumbering Falls that turn. And then we draw another land, so we're kind of stabilizing here. And we get Lightning Axed, which is okay. And lumbered into, and now we have fully drawn out of our screw. And have a nice bristling Hydra wall. And here, something interesting happens. We get Altered Egoed. So our opponent's going to have a gigantic Bristling Hydra. We could give our Bristling Hydra Shroud, but that doesn't matter to clone effects because they don't target. So we just got outclassed. We draw another land, which is good, and we have plenty of time thanks to Whirler Virtuoso. So not panicking yet, since we have essentially infinite chump blockers for this. And another interesting card, Saheeli comes down and copies a Bristling Hydra, which gets energy, of course. And we just go ahead and chump, since our opponent can actually sink energy into that as well if we block with like Bristling Hydra and try and pump it up too high. And then we make 2 Thopters to kill off Saheeli, make sure it dies. And at this point, I'm actually feeling pretty good. I've stabilized. My opponent has demonstrated that they don't really have anything that they're doing of value. So now I'm thinking I'm in the driver's seat. That is, of course, until Verdurous Gearhulk comes down, which is going to provide another challenge. But our opponent's out of cards. We have Tireless Tracker going, so again, still in a good spot. And we can start pecking away with Thopters because we have it covered down here. So here I'm just happy to trade off with Verdurous Gearhulk and take a bit of trample damage and chump the Bristling Hydra. Unfortunately, our opponent draws Ishkana, which is one of the best draws for them at this point in the game, since we're at 8, which we took that bit of extra trample damage, which I did not think would be relevant, but now it's relevant since our opponent can actually activate Ishkana with either Servant of the Conduit or Aether Hub generating black mana. So we have plenty of answers to Ishkana, but we need to draw them before we die. And now I start getting aggressive because, I mean, we're fine blocking. It's just the drain we're worried about. And here I'm going to make the heads-up play of actually burning a spider, which is normally very disappointing, but that actually decreases the clock of Ishkana by a whole turn for draining us. It gives us another chance to draw out of this, which again, unfortunately, we do not do yet. Do not do. So we need an answer in our next 2 draws. And there it is. Harness Lightning. And off the clue, I draw another answer. I drew 2 answers this turn when we needed them. We're still in a perilous pickle of a position, but now we have Harness Lightning against another Ishkana or like grapple, and I start getting tentatively aggressive. So I want to kill my opponent next turn while not dying myself. And my opponent's out of cards, so I know I have lethal here. Make a bunch of Thopters, didn't even need this confiscation coup, and had lethal through the Lumbering Falls. Thanks to Fumarole and company. And get the win there in what was a long drawn exciting game. So my opponent's playing a sweet deck. For sideboarding, I wasn't entirely sure what to do, that's for sure, but I wanted to go bigger than my opponent. So I was looking at basically these as cards. Negate would be reasonable, but we saw most of our opponent's top end being like Verdurous Gearhulk, Ishkanas, and Bristling Hydras, similar to us. So I just wanted to go slightly bigger than them. Maybe trim some Incendiary Flows, trim some Whirler Virtuosos, and put in all my go big things. Now I was streaming at the time, and people were trolling me, saying root out. Maybe trolling me. But root out is actually a very good answer to Verdurous Gearhulk, since the deck doesn't have that many answers. Confiscation Coup is also a very good answer, but I think Root Out would have actually been reasonable to bring in since we did see Verdurous Gearhulk. I didn't do it though, um, and then we'll see what happens. So great hand. Have a flow for any early drops, tireless trackers, and any like gnarlwood dryads. Important to not side out too many flows if your opponent has like tireless trackers and such, but also don't really want them against Ishkanas and bristling hydras. So apparently we found the right mix and had it for the turn 2 servant. So our opponent is just traversing, and we develop our board and are feeling pretty good despite having a couple lands, and then draw the perfect 4-drop, and then Verdurous Gearhulk comes down, which we don't have an answer to. We only have semi-soft removal, and our Harness Lightning is sadly 1 energy short. So I play the Sky Sovereign, and I probably should have attacked here actually, because it would have threatened to trade off with the 3 damage on it. So I should have gotten in a free Bristling Hydra hit there, or traded for Verdurous Gearhulk. And then another Verdurous Gearhulk. Root Out, where are you? Of course, Confiscation Coup would also be good, and we do not draw it. So my plan, I think, was to activate Sky Sovereign and then Harness Lightning off the 8/8 Verdurous Gearhulk, but now it's a 12/12. And Altered Ego. I shoot down that Verdurous Gearhulk in response that had 3 counters about to be going on it, but at this point I'm just drawing dead. Even Confiscation Coup doesn't save us. So now I'm kicking myself for not bringing in any root outs, and I think I bring in like 1 for the 3rd game, and this is my opener on the play, which is actually fantastic. If we draw any sort of action at all, Tireless Tracker, Bristling Hydra, Jace, Confiscation Coup, this is an amazing hand on the play. And even if we don't draw anything, we're just dumping our whole hand on turn 3, which is pretty good. And our opponent's start is mediocre. Unfortunately, we drew 2 lands. But this is still okay. 3 lands. So we activate Fumarole and are happy to trade off since our opponent actually missed a land drop. And then they track and drew 4 lands. These were all in our opening hand. We did not draw a spell. I mean, we're still actually winning and our opponent's at 9. And they even just did nothing this turn. Except Lightning Axe. They had negate, so there goes Cub, and now I am praying for a non-land. 5th land in a row. And now we're in trouble. Yeah, Incendiary Flow kills off Chandra, keeps our opponent from adding mana and playing something big. But we're in massive amounts of trouble. And now our opponent has Tireless Tracker and Ishkana, and now I am feeling terrible as the game begins to slip out of hand and depression starts to set in. Just Incendiary Flow the tracker. And hardcast Lightning Axe, no big deal. And we lose. What was a promising game gets thrown into the trash due to the tides and cruelty of variance. A fickle mistress it is, as the spider devours our soul.